Mas. All right, everybody. While John's handing out the last couple pieces of his material, I just want to remind everybody that we will make available all the handouts in a separate folder. So when your group gets ready to view the video, make sure you have that folder with the handouts so you guys can view those, because there is some really important information on those. Again, I'd just like to thank Cindy and Ronnie for sharing with us today. And I'm getting ready to introduce John. He's going to talk a little bit about pantry safety. There's so many different ways that food's handled at the lot 2540 that volunteers get involved in. One way that I know of is that I'm involved with morning pickups at Food Lion during the week, and we go to Food Lion and we pick food up and we transport it. It's so important that we take care of that food, and that we keep our hands clean when we're doing it, and we keep our tubs clean. And we work really hard not to ever put like meat in with bread. And that should make sense. I hope after what these guys are talking about today, that makes more sense, because cross-contamination is so bad for you. And we really value our clients' safety and their health here at Lot 2540. So we take great care to do that. We want to make sure if someone's got a gluten intolerance, we're not shaking breadcrumbs all over their meat. And on the other hand, if they've got a nut allergy, we want to make sure that we're not serving them food that's got nuts in it. So we work really hard to do that. I know John's going to talk a little bit about pantry safety, so I want to welcome him up right now. So thank you, John, for sharing with us a little bit about what you do in the pantry. So.
All right. Thanks for having me up here so I can do this. I'm John, and I pretty much help with the pantry. We do a lot of stuff with Second Harvest, and they give us a book. We have one in the store, which give you guidelines on the pantry, which a lot of this information that I've handed out to you guys comes from this and from other areas that have come around. But one thing, we get a lot of food through donations. And you always got to remember that a lot of these people are cleaning out their shelves, or stuff that's been there that they haven't used or whatever. And so it's a process that we go through to make sure that everything that we hand out is within guidelines of what Second Harvest has said and what we have said. Some items that they go along with as far as expiration dates, we can pretty much do our own guidelines on that as far as expiration dates and how long we keep that. But one thing I thought that is interesting is that the Food and Drug Administration, Department of Agriculture, they do not mandate that foods have an expiration date on them. I didn't know if you knew that or not, and pretty much it's up to the states to regulate that. So the Food and Drug really has said you don't need to have expiration dates on that. But what we do go for is we set maybe, we don't like to go 9 years past the expiration date. 7 years. We usually
Wrong answers.
we usually put our limits at 1 to 2 years, depending on what it is. And
in canned
I do in cans, and I do have some information there that I've given out that'll tell you what. But what we look for is like a can like that, even though it's dented, but what you got to see is the upper lip has been crushed. Even though there's no leakage or anything like that, it needs to be discarded. We have a can like this, it's got a dent in it, okay, but all the seals are fine. There's no cracks, nothing, it's just damaged. The guidelines on that is if it is stackable, it's good. That's how you determine how bad it's been crushed. If it's stackable, it's good for your shelf. Here's a can that looks excellent. Really nice. It's within expiration date. It's, you know, next year is good. Can you see it's got rust on it? Now, rust, if you cannot wash that off, you discard this can. It is no good. So you got to watch out for that. Here's one that I got a little story about this one. It is rusty, so you can't use that. But there was one day I was going through this can of tuna, and we pass out a lot of tuna. And I was going through and organizing the tuna, and, you know, getting it nice and neat and stacked. And I saw one can that everything was fine, but it had an odd label on it, and I picked it up, and sure enough, it was cat food. Somebody had donated, but because the size of the can was just like chicken or tuna, it was in our pantry to give away as food.
And we shouldn't do that.
No, I don't think that's really not a very good idea, unless, but we put that with, if we get dog food or stuff, cat food, we do put that with that. Cans that come in and have no labels on them, you know, just a silver can. That is a can you have to discard because you have no idea what's in it. You'll see some cans that come up and they'll be swollen. I don't have an example, but you know, the top will be a little curved. That is something that has to be discarded.
Run away.
I gave you a printout. Can I use this can? And it tells you up at the top, is it dented? And then you can go down, you know, how bad is it? Blah, 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 all the way down, and then it gets to the bottom. Eat, throw away. So that's a good guideline that you can go by as far as being able to determine what's good and what's bad in a can. When we come to jars, jars are pretty much obvious. Either they've got a little, if you notice in a jar, it's indented, and when you open that jar, it pops up. So if you see any of that has been popped up or whatever, that is immediately discarded, thrown away. Some people use it for chicken food. So that is something that has to be discarded. Unfortunately, sometimes you get some things that people homemade, and they jarred them. We don't give those out at the food pantry because we don't know what safety measures have been taken to make that jelly or jam or whatever they have processed. So we do not give that out. We come to dry foods. A good thing on dry foods, and this is, nothing in here tells you this, it's just a process that I do. Most of them, bagged food has air in it. So I take that bag and I squeeze it. And if that bag leaks, that's not a good bag. But if it holds its pressure, then you're good on that. Now sometimes we'll get 50-pound bags of rice, and we will rebag that. Now we do have a process because we have to be safety with that. You know, we have to wear gloves, hair nets, or a hat. That is poured into a container that is lined with a bag, trash bag, a clean trash bag. Let me put that out there. And then that is transferred into plastic bags and sealed. And we use double lip sealing bags. You don't want a single lip. We use a double lip so that we know that is. And then you squeeze that to make sure that it's holding air. And so that's a good way to look at how to process bagged food. Then again, a lot of times you get this that are in boxes, you know, like banana boxes or stuff like that. So you have to look to make sure that there are no rat droppings or anything in that box. If you see anything like that, then you discard whatever's in that box, because you don't know, there's really no point in going through it, because it's contaminated whether you wash it, whatever you do with it. So that is discarded, and something we just don't use. So there's a lot of guidelines that we use to go through. We do get in meats and produce and all that daily. Again, like been said earlier, you got to have gloves for that. We have, when it comes to meats, we have separate freezers for beef, poultry, and pork, because you cannot mix those together. You don't want to put pork and beef and poultry all in one container, because just for contamination reasons, and it's a guideline that is given to us through Second Harvest. And then again, you know, when you're doing produce, you got to look to make sure your produce is good. You know, a good thing to go by, if you see got mold on it, you know, that might be a good indication that you might want to. Or softness. Some vegetables, like what do you make guacamole out of? Avocados. Yeah, now some of those are, you know, that's where they actually ripe, good and soft. So, and you want to look for any bugs crawling around. That's a good idea that you know, there might be some contamination in there. If you got dry goods, spaghetti, stuff like that, that box has been crushed or opened, that's a discard. A lot of this is common sense. There's several things that you can go by. Now I do get, and this is something I do, you're welcome to it, I gave you a flyer. I get it sent to me by email. It's a safety alert, recalls on foods. It tells you where you can go on that. All you got to do, put in your email address, and they'll send this to you weekly. So I get this weekly, and I get it at home, I pull it up, and I make sure that we don't have any of these food items that are on recall. And a lot of this stuff here is good for your home too. So, you know, pay attention to what you're getting, how it's stored. Be sure to thoroughly look at your food before you get it. Another handout I was giving you is food storage and shelf life guidelines. This comes from an outfit called Food Share. And going through this, you'll be surprised, like pasteurized honey has a shelf life of forever. That might be surprising. At least if you got honey, that's good. You can keep that around for a bit. White rice is good for 30 years. Do you have a question?
I didn't get that sheet you were just talking about.
Okay, what you don't have, I have plenty of, and you can get that after. Yes, sir?
So, a couple questions. Best Buy and expiration dates are set as just guidelines.
Correct.
So, going to depending on the product, you can go a certain amount of time. Like I know that like diet soda we pitch because the guidelines say once it's expired.
Right. Now, that'll tell you in this sheet.
Good. So, and then the other question I have, one other quick question. So, back to the water contamination that Ronnie was talking about. When you're handling like cut celery that's in the containers that are on water, is there? I know I look for certain things like, is the water clear? Is it milky? I mean, is that a pretty good way to kind of?
Yeah.
I use the smell in the side test. Kind of, does it smell? Does it look weird?
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't want to open it up and smell it and then close it and give it out to somebody.
Right, absolutely. And then I guess with like if you're handling a tomato or an apple and it's got a cut in it, that's already,
That's contamination.
that's chicken food too.
Yeah,
So,
well,
right.
yeah, you cut your finger, you're contaminated. You gotta get thrown away.
Your finger? Is that what happened to you, Lawrence?
So this is really a good guideline if you,
Thank you.
and they're always, and it is available too. And, and like I say, this is not only valuable to our pantry, it's valuable for yourself. And so we try to give you everything that you need to know, whether through us or online, that can help you with everything. Now, one thing I did fail to mention is that when we are processing and bagging foods, we do have, each pantry needs to have a designated hand wash area, which we have, and that's pretty much used only for pantry personnel. Because it's away from everything else, and we don't want other people using it and messing it up. So, any other questions?
On the milk that you buy, the homogenized, know it's got a date on it.
Correct.
And stop using by a date, or do you go, depending on how the milk is or how long?
Let's see if we can load milk up in here.
We got
Milk. Evaporated milk is good for 1 year. Non-fat dry milk is good for a year. Stable shelf milk is good for 6 months. Non-fat dry milk is actually, you can store that for 20 years.
talking about the stuff like you get a gallon of milk, you know, it's got a date on it.
Right.
And you put it refrigerated.
Right. Usually milk, if you got a good nose, you can tell when milk's going bad.
Yeah, we use the 72-hour rule on that, right? 72 hours after the date, it's gone. It doesn't matter whether it
Can't you
smells.
freeze milk?
Excuse me?
Can't you freeze milk?
Yes.
How long is it good then?
That's a great question. I would think that we need to just do some research.
Yeah.
Mighty Google probably would have some research data on that. But when you freeze like fresh fruit, we try to freeze things around here like grapes and blueberries because you can extend the shelf life
Okay,
tremendously.
according to this food share, milk after code date is usually good for 5 days after that. It says it is not recommended to be frozen after the code date. Okay, so that's kind of up to you, but it's not recommended. And, see, that's what, this is really bad.
Yeah.
So,
A good tool.
so we have all this stuff available to you. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, appreciate it. I'll wrap it up real quick. Thank you, John.
Yes, you will.
All right, well, we're up, we're running, so thank you again, John and Ronnie and Cindy for sharing best practices. I think if you guys don't know us, you should know that we take food safety seriously here, and we've learned so much we're able to take home with us and use in our own houses. But yeah, make sure that you guys take advantage of your nose and your eyes when you guys are handling your foods, because, you know, just because it has today's date on it doesn't mean that it wasn't mishandled before you ever got it. So that kind of goes back to Ronnie's point of how it was handled at the time it was actually produced. So although we take it seriously and we do everything we can, we want you guys to do the same. Also, one quick thing, as donors, we certainly appreciate donations. In North Carolina, there's something called the Good Samaritan Law. And that protects you guys. When you donate food to Lot 2540, there's zero liability from a corporate and a personal standpoint through the Good Samaritan Law. So that means you guys can donate food without worrying about what it is. It doesn't mean you donate all your expired food, but you can donate without any worry of liability through that Good Samaritan Law. So we thank you for all your donations and support, and we look forward to having you volunteer with us soon. Thank you.
Morning.
Yes.
One more thing I want to mention.
hand sanitizer should not be in the bathrooms or by any of the other two hand sanitizers.
No hand
It
sanitizer.
discourages proper hand washing, and then after you go through all the trouble of washing your hands, you're taking a squirt of that sanitizer. The top is nasty, and you know, scattered throughout the building is fine, but I'm gonna pull it from the bathroom. Let
Oh,
you know.
no more hand sanitizer.
Not in the bathroom
Oh, not in the back.
or the hand sink.
How about the hand washing stations?
No, you don't want it.
All right. Well, thank you guys again.
How about next
I know
week?
that I've learned something today. So
And that takes a lot, doesn't it?
it takes a lot to get me to learn anything.